Hi there, guys. I'm here with Ryan Docherty, who's a Cavs fan, and we're going to talk about, first of all, the Eastern Conference playoffs. Ryan's coming in from Edinburgh just now.
Hey guys.
How you doing? This is our first kind of phone call podcast that we're going to try and attempt to do. Hopefully it works out alright. Have you had a good day?
Really? Yeah, it was good. It was good. First day back at school after the weekend,
Yeah,
so it was a long one.
it's,
It was a terrible day for me.
yeah, I can imagine. Ryan is a math teacher, so we get a bit of the mathematics perspective from him on basketball, the analytics and the numbers, which is I think
Yeah.
a valuable perspective. Ryan's a Cavs fan, so he's going to be able to talk to the Cavs with a bit more authority than I would normally be able to. Um,
You say Cavs fan. I'm a LeBron fan.
yeah, you're a LeBron fan.
Cavs come second, and
Yeah,
wherever LeBron goes, I'm a fan.
yeah. I was really hoping actually that we had the Heat in the final, because I would be able to say
I think it would have made for a much more entertaining final.
I think so as well. I think that would. I don't know. I don't want to try and guess if this is going to be a competitive final yet, but I just my instincts tell me that it would have been more competitive with the Heat than with the Raptors. I don't know why. I think there's more at stake. I think in terms of the psychology behind it, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, from what a lot of kind of stuff I've been reading into it and a lot of the games I've been watching, Toronto were kind of celebrating like they'd won everything when they beat the Heat, and it wasn't even close to the end, and they were like jumping around like, oh my god, I can't believe it, and Drake wasn't there, and it's like,
I think
whoa,
it was a very good
this,
win. I was surprised.
this,
I was surprised that they had the chops to beat an experienced Dwayne Wade side in a game seven. I was quite surprised at that myself.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was getting closer, and then you look a little bit more into the kind of injuries that the Heat were kind of dealing with, little Deng kind of banged up, Dwayne Wade having a wee kind of strains here, there, and everywhere in that game, and Dragic not really getting going, and that does really kind of speak to the kind of the powers that Toronto do have to kind of slow the game down and basically just kind of wear you out over a long series. They've done it against the Pacers and against the Heat as well. But I don't know what it is, but I thought last year they were a lot more exciting to watch. This year it's almost it's like watching paint dry. You just can't cheer for a team like that. They almost suck all the energy out of every room they ever go into.
Yeah, if it works, I guess we'll see. I think it's difficult to say that it won't work against the Cavs. I think this will be obviously the hardest series that the Cavs will have to face so far
Yeah,
because but the Pistons it was no contest, and I think the Cavs made the last series against the Hawks look a lot easier than it really was or should have been.
yeah.
They seemed to start firing all cylinders in that last series.
Yeah, personally, I think that the Hawks would have been a much harder challenge than this Toronto team with the kind of the lack of Valanciunas, which they're going to have for at least one game, maybe more, and DeMar Carroll not really getting off to the best start in Toronto, albeit he's been injured and stuff like that. But in the playoffs, he's just not looking like his Hawks self as he was last year.
Yeah,
I think that the Hawks would have been a better matchup in the finals, and I think they would have. I want to say they would have stepped up from last year's absolute trouncing, but with their kind of in their semis, they didn't want to step up at all. I mean, Schroeder did want to do stuff, but he just wasn't getting any help.
yeah,
But yeah, this Raptors team. I mean, when we're talking about what series would we rather have seen, if all being healthy, the Heat and the Raptors, you've got two kind of polar opposites of power forwards. You've got Bosch being if he was back, I think it would have been the Heat all the way, and then you've got another power forward from the Raptors who started against the Cavaliers every single time they played them this season in
yeah,
Luis Scola, and he also started the first game against the Pacers in the playoffs, which is just mental. Who starts Luis Scola?
yeah,
In a playoff series that they have to win at home. It's just it was craziness, absolute craziness. So those two complete kind of opposites of this old lethargic old style basketball guy against Bosch. It would have been ridiculously you know.
Well, Bosch, he stretches the floor out a little bit. He takes guys away from the basket.
Yeah, he can pass as well. I mean, Scola's okay. He's got some vision, but it's like his hands are like 20 minutes behind his actual eyes. So
Yeah.
it
So
wouldn't be a good matchup for the Raptors. So
yeah.
in my mind, it's just I think that they've done well for getting to this stage, considering that their main guy, their main inside guy has been out.
Yeah, I mean, and I think he's going to still be out at least at the start. I think he's questionable to start game 1. It might even be clever to just leave him until game 3, given that they face the first 2 games on the road, and try and get him healthy back for game 3. Try and steal a game without him if they can. I mean, obviously in the last series the Cavs started to hit. They started to really play with pace and started to hit a lot of 3-pointers. I think they've set a playoff record for 3-pointers made in a team, haven't they?
Yeah, they did.
Is that something that's sustainable in this series, especially when you're talking about a team like you say who's going to try and slow it down and suck all the pace and personality out of a series?
Well, I think it is because as I was saying at the start, that Toronto are the second slowest team in the NBA in their offense. The Cavs are not much better. They're the third slowest team, but the Cavs, as we know, do like to get out and run the ball. So that's not to say that they're always going straight up the court looking for that early basket. They want to kind of move the ball around and almost kind of not San Antonio West, but make sure everyone touches the ball. And that's what if you've been watching any LeBron James or Kevin Love's interviews or Kyrie Irving's interviews, it's always we're sharing the ball, we're trying to get everyone involved, blah 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 blah. And that's what they've been kind of doing in this playoffs really really well. And when you then think of what Toronto are going to throw up against that, it doesn't make good reading if you're a Raptors fan, because they are the second worst at defending the 3-point line in the whole of the NBA. So
I mean, and you've got a Cavs lineup where you can potentially have Kyrie, J.R. Smith, LeBron, Kevin Love, and Channing Frye all out on the court at the same time, and it kind of replicates. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm not even going to suggest that it's anywhere near as good as the Warriors' quote unquote lineup of death, but they can put that lineup out there and they can play in a similar way where they just whip the ball around. They've always got a 3-point option. LeBron James obviously controls the basketball.
Well, it's his ball. It's his team. It's his court.
Yeah.
And no one's going to take that away from him until you pry it from his dead hands.
Yeah.
So
I don't think. I mean, I think that the part of the key to Cleveland's success is that for the first 2 rounds, at least nobody's actually tried to. They've kind of accepted that this is the way they want to play basketball. They've put that lineup out. I think it's proven that Channing Frye's been an absolutely amazing pickup for them, because it gives them a dimension where they can run a small ball lineup out like that and be successful. And I think part of that is, what I've just said is exactly the reason why they've become such a good 3-point shooting team in the postseason. Interesting you say that about Toronto though, because I didn't know they were so bad at defending the 3-point line.
Yeah, I mean, reading their advanced stats, the opponents on average make 37% of all their 3-pointers, and that is good or bad enough for second worst in the whole of the league, which is crazy, considering that they've got a lot of you'd think good perimeter defenders on their team. In that last series against the Heat, it was quite evident that Dwayne Wade hadn't shot a 3 since December.
Yeah.
And he was shooting threes for fun, absolute for fun, and that may be because Whiteside was out, Deng's a bit banged up, Dragic isn't really getting his shot going, but he was actively looking for that 3 ball because he knew that he could get that shot anytime he wanted.
Yeah.
And it was working for him. Did he not? After he ended up in, was it 4, 3? It was a lot more than 1 anyway in that series.
Yeah.
So that's, and coming from Miami not really being that kind of 3-point team that back when LeBron was there, they kind of turned into that because they knew that they could get Richardson, they could get wide open.
Yeah.
Winslow hitting the odd one here and there. It's it's scary to think if a team is not a 3-point shooting team and they're hitting, not like bombarding you with threes, but they're hitting important threes on you to pull away or sustain a lead. So
yeah,
it's not good looking for Raptors.
So presumably the Cavs are going to try and they're going to go with that lineup that I just mentioned. Maybe I don't know how healthy Shumpert is. Again, I haven't really been following the Cavs through the playoffs so far. Shumpert and Mo Williams were questionable at the start of the playoffs. I don't know how healthy they are now, but they're both 3-point shooting options if you need them to be.
Yeah,
They've got depth as well. They've got depth as well as strength at the 3-point line.
I mean, Mo hasn't really been playing much in the playoffs. I really can't think of any important times he's ever actually been in.
Yeah, but you can get 10 to 15 good minutes out of him if you need them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, who has been quite good from three and quite effective when he's been coming in the playoffs is Richard Jefferson.
Yeah.
He is from his play in the season. It was almost like he was, your Kendrick Perkins, your James Jones.
I wouldn't even have acknowledged that it was on the squad, to be honest with you.
Mike Miller style player of he's on the bench to kind of bring up the kind of enthusiasm of his teammates and every now and again hit a shot. Whereas in the playoffs he's actually been quite important to that second unit where he's been quite kind of prominent and taking control when LeBron and Kevin and Kyrie and all that have been off the floor. Which is it's a change to see because watching a lot of the Cavs during the season, it was usually Dellavedova and keeping J.R. Smith on the floor that was kind of getting them going as a second unit, and then taking J.R. off and putting Kyrie back on, and then kind of lulling the starters back in. But it's kind of changed in the playoffs to like see that Jefferson and not so much Shumpert hasn't really got going yet, and he has. I think the whole season he's been kind of still. With that kind of knee injury and stuff that he had last year, it's still been kind of niggling away at him.
Yeah.
He's not quite back. But I mean, he's shown glimpses of what he can do, and he's still effective on the defensive end, and that's all they really need from Shumpert.
Yeah. I mean, is there any kind of lineup that Toronto can throw at that kind of mini lineup, Eastern Conference version of the lineup of death that can slow it down and stop it? Because I mean, I'm assuming that Valanciunas won't play at least the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, looking down their roster, you've got.
Even if he did though, even if Valanciunas was still there, you're taking him away from the basket with Channing Frye and Love.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Patrick Patterson and Johnson, if you put them in instead of Biyombo, I think I've not seen a big enough sample size of Biyombo working around picks to figure out if he's going to be good on switching.
I mean, he's essentially a rim protector. He's essentially a rim protector. I don't know how effective that's going to be when, like I say, Channing Frye and Kevin Love are pulling him away from the basket and creating lanes. Presumably, DeMar Carroll will be on LeBron James at all times.
Yeah.
So it just feels like the ball's going to be whirling, the ball's going to be moving. It's going to there's going to be shooters on the floor at all times, apart from LeBron James himself. But that's why you're pulling a big man away from the basket so that LeBron James can get in there.
Yeah.
I don't see a lineup that Toronto can put out that's going to make this an interesting series.
No, until any of their bench guys show what they showed in the regular season. I'm looking at Terrence Ross. I'm looking at Corey Joseph. I'm even looking at Nogueira when he was coming off the bench in the regular season, and providing that every now and again. Here's a block. Here's a really important offensive rebound and stuff like that. He's just these guys. They've just been non-existent.
Yeah.
When they've been in. It's almost like Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan's off the floor. Let's just give up 10 points just now. Yeah. Because we can't do anything.
And you're of course relying on them to be firing on all cylinders on offense as well, which is I don't think something you can really rely on for every night.
No, definitely not. I mean, Toronto do have that kind of psychological advantage that they are 2-1 up in the regular season, but Mo Williams was pulled hamstring or something like that as well. So basically, your first three options as point guards. We know that the Cavs don't really necessarily need a point guard because they've got LeBron James, but still having basically Cunningham running the offense isn't a great kind of step for the Cavs. And then the last game that they lost against the Raptors was more of a kind of surprising one. Cleveland were up, they looked quite dominant, and then Kyle Lowry just decided to go mental in the fourth quarter, and that's something that he can do, but he needs a big volume of shots to be able to do that.
I'm just trying to think about them defensively as well and try to work out if there's any way that they can try and disrupt that lineup. So the obvious thing for me, the Raptors have had to go to they've been through 2 7-game series in order to get here, so they've proven at least to themselves that they can tough out a series and run it close and then and steal it at the end if they need to. Because actually, to be honest with you, had the Heat and the Pacers to win those game 7s. I'm surprised that the Raptors have managed to get here from there. They've definitely been tested more as a whole than the Cavs have, like on their path to this Eastern Conference Finals. I'm trying to work out if that gives them an advantage anywhere, and all I can say is maybe in game 1, if you've got Lowry playing really really tight aggressive defense on Kyrie Irving, and you've got DeMar Carroll doing the same on LeBron James, that you might be able to disrupt their ball handlers in some way and try and stop them from getting into the flow of that offense where they can become 3-point bombers. But I don't see that being sustainable through 2 or 3 games. Do you know what I mean?
I just don't see it happening that much at all. I mean, I see it happening on the odd occasional possession, but knowing how banged up they are as players themselves, DeMar DeRozan has got 9 fingers.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry only has 1 arm. It's it doesn't look good. I mean, fair enough, they might disrupt them on the offense, but to get the Raptors offense going, they're needing to drive to the basket and get fouls.
Yeah.
And you've got Kevin Love, who's notoriously not great on defense, not going to foul you because he's not a rim protector, and you put Channing Frye in there, he's not really your stereotypical rim protector either. So if they're going to foul you, they're not going to foul you going towards the basket. They're going to foul you on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's not something that the Cavs I think they're going to need to worry about. They're not going to worry. They're not going to worry about getting in foul trouble early on, because they'll be told by Coach Lou that just don't foul them. That's how they're winning these series, by getting to the line.
Yeah.
You've got two guys who are really banged up. They can't shoot normally themselves, and they're getting to the line to win these games.
That could potentially be something of a concern against the lineup we just mentioned with Channing Frye and Kevin Love, because they're less than convincing on the defensive end. There's definitely an opportunity to attack that defense on the interior. Yeah. So there's an opportunity there. I just don't see that those two are reliable enough on the offensive end to cause Cleveland any major trouble, and I don't see them being able to stop the 3-point barrage that they're going to face. Potentially Cleveland could shoot themselves out of it, because they're a team that's not used to playing like with that kind of like high intensity 3-point shooting offense. They're not, I wouldn't say they've mastered it. I think they've kind of just stumbled onto it in this last Atlanta series.
I mean, I think that they've been trying to get this going for the majority of the season. They've been trying to get J.R. Smith up, Shumpert going with his 3-point shooting, and trying to get Kevin Love basically touches and get his offense going. He's still not great at going to the rim. He should be doing a lot more. Watching the previous series against Atlanta, I'm pretty sure it was in the last game, he went up for a dunk, and I don't know why he didn't try and go up for a dunk. Did he not just kind of just look at himself and be like, I'm Kevin Love, I can dunk now? No, just take the layup.
Yeah.
You take the layup, you don't get blocked. It's just ridiculous. I think in his mind he's like, I've not had a dunk all this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an element of that where he's like the least popular brother of the big three, and maybe even becoming even falling down the pecking order a little bit more with J.R. Smith, because it seems that J.R. Smith gets in the media a lot more, gets in the press. He's more spoken about, I would say, more talked about than Kevin Love is. So
I think J.R. Smith was probably almost talked about more than Carmelo Anthony when he was in New York.
Well, yeah, in a negative way. At least it's a little bit more positive now when you hear J.R. Smith being spoken about in the media, which brings me to what it brings me to my the one way that I can see this potentially not going the Cavs' way is if somehow, I mean, I've been saying, I guess everybody's been saying, it's been said by Bill Simmons, it's been said by Stephen A. Smith on ESPN First Take as well. It feels like this Cavaliers team are the right lineup away, the right opponent away from suffering a bit of a chemistry meltdown, and it's because of players like J.R. Smith. It's because Kevin Love clearly feels that he's been marginalised somewhat. It's because of Kyrie Irving's tendency to want a ball hog or want to run the offense. So I mean, there's a way in which I think you can overplay LeBron James a little bit and perhaps try and trick Kyrie Irving into taking the series over, where you can start to cause a little bit of attrition to this chemistry. Now, I thought that would have happened by now. I thought maybe Atlanta Hawks were the team that could have maybe instigated something like that. But
I kind of thought that they were going to do something like that as well.
Yeah.
They looked like they were out for a bit of kind of revenge over last year.
Yeah. As the series goes on though, and the Cavs play better and better, and they're rolling and they're sweeping, I think that gets less and less likely. I feel like they become tighter, they become stronger, and it's going to take a little bit more to try and upset that. But I think the potential is always there for them to melt down in that way. Again, even if they did, I think they could probably still get through this series. The potential issue comes when they have to play against a team like the Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that you're going to see someone on the floor who you've probably not seen since the end of the regular season. You're going to see Timothy Mozgov in this series. Yeah, you're going to have him against Biyombo. Just take him and run it. It's not going to be a case of we want to see what you can do. We know what you can do, but we want you to get the offensive rebound rather than Biyombo. Because I think that Biyombo's going to have the edge slightly over Tristan Thompson. I mean, I know how great Tristan Thompson is as an offensive rebounder, but I just don't. I think that Biyombo's just got a bit more strength in him, and he's got a better awareness. And because he's always going to be next to the rim, he's not going to be getting pulled out away from the rim.
Yeah, I mean,
away from Tristan Thompson. So it's. I think you're going to see Timothy Mozgov in there just to liven things up. I think. Yeah,
potentially. I mean, again, it's interesting you mentioned Tristan Thompson, because I think at the start of this season, with the contract breakdown in contract negotiations, and eventually Tristan Thompson getting paid, that you would imagine that he would factor more significantly in their season. And I feel like the more of the key player was when they brought Channing Frye in, and they were able to play with a small ball lineup where they could play so efficiently from the 3-point line. You can't do that if Tristan Thompson's in the game.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very, very true. I think that you won't see as much Frye as everyone would like. I would quite like to see Frye on the floor, mainly because I want to see if that record can be broken again. I think in this series, because how bad Toronto are defending the 3-point line, and how much of a groove that Cleveland have got them in, that have got themselves in, I think that record could go again.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
If that's if they play Frye a lot though. I don't see it happening. I think they're going to just keep him fresh because they know he's old, and they don't want to wreck him before the either matchup against the Warriors or the Thunder.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see, and that brings us naturally on into the Western Conference, which I think's a far more interesting series. I mean, I've written already an article with my thoughts on it. Me and Gavin actually tried to record a podcast on the Western Conference on Saturday, where we both had a couple of beers. We're sitting in this conservatory in the sun, and we did a whole 45-minute podcast just on the Western Conference Finals that just did not record, unfortunately. So that was my fuck up. So we can go and do it again. You don't necessarily know what my arguments are unless you've read my article in the past hour.
No, I've not. I've literally just had my dinner. Just been in the house.
So what's your initial thoughts? What's your initial thoughts on Warriors versus Thunder?
My overriding thought is go Thunder, go. You
become a believer.
I became a bit of a Thunder fan this year. Not fan, but more of a fan of the younger players. And the same way I was kind of enthralled by Harden's, dominance last year of just, you know what, my team's awful, I'm going to do this myself. Westbrook has that, but what he's kind of matured into this year,
he's also got a half reasonable team around him. More than half reasonable team. That's quite harsh actually on the Thunder. I think they've got a very good and talented squad.
What Westbrook's kind of got into this year is he's sharing the ball the best he ever has done in his life, and that is great to see, because that was what was one thing that was missing from his game, was being able to get his teammates involved in the offense as well as get his own points.
Yeah.
And that's what I've loved watching him this year. And I thought he was kind of not totally gypped out of being, top 3 for MVP, but I think he should have maybe got a first place vote. I'd have put him ahead of LeBron James, and I would have had Kawhi have at least one first place vote, but Russell maybe would have got 2, because I know Kevin Durant has had a really good season coming back off injury and stuff, but Russell has carried this team in bits.
I think it's the fourth quarter collapses that kind of stick in your mind from the regular season. I mean, it hasn't happened yet in the playoffs, but it's still in. As a regular season team, they should definitely have been better than they were. They definitely underperformed in the regular season.
Yeah.
I want to say that Kawhi Leonard should probably have got maybe a first place vote, but I think if there was ever a player who's ever going to have a season that deserved a unanimous MVP vote, then this was one of them. Steph Curry definitely deserved to be a unanimous MVP this year. I know people don't disagree with that, and in fact it's particularly LeBron James fans that disagree with that. But I'm glad to hear you say that you would have put Russell Westbrook ahead of LeBron as well.
He did miles ahead of LeBron. I mean, you've got him being, what is it, the only guy that's ever recorded 18 triple doubles in a season. I'm glad
I've got you on record saying that.
Since Magic, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And to put Kawhi ahead of him is I mean, I can understand why Kawhi might be ahead of him, because he was kind of given a kind of nod of the head last year of how good he was, and the fact that he was again named Defensive Player of the Year and stuff like that. But it's how he's changed his game that much in the past 3 years is phenomenal, and it makes it really exciting to see what him and KD are going to do next.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. To speak to what you've just said,
because I don't see them splitting up. I just don't see them. It's not happening.
That all depends. I think that all depends on this series. I think that really does depend on this series. To speak to what you've just said about Russell Westbrook getting his teammates involved, there was a hint of it towards the end of the regular season last year when the Thunder were trying to scramble into the 8th seed, and Russell Westbrook was picking up. He was regularly getting double-digit assist games, but there's a difference between getting assists and running a good offense.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really subtle difference, because you can say like Rajon Rondo is in his prime was a great, an all-time great point guard because of his ability to get people involved. But when you saw that big 3 breakup, you started to see him being a bit of an assist whore and recording the stats, but it wasn't telling the whole story, because there's giving up open layups for the sake of getting an assist, and there's running an effective offense and delivering the ball to key people in key moments. And I think there was an aspect of Russell Westbrook that had that, which has now been overcome, I feel, in the past season, or towards the end of definitely towards the end of the regular season. And they've kind of really clicked in this playoffs. I think it's pace. I mean, when you look at how they beat the Spurs, I don't know if they beat the Spurs so much as the Spurs kind of just couldn't really match the pace of Russell Westbrook. Tony Parker can't do anything. Manu Ginobili can't do anything. They're just faced with this absolute, terrifying, ferocious point guard that's going to come at you at 100 miles an hour all the time for 48 minutes, and they just couldn't do anything. They just couldn't do anything to stop it.
It was kind of like watching Wiley Coyote and the Roadrunner. You've just got the Roadrunner running straight at Wiley Coyote, and you've got Tony Parker going, I had him, I didn't have him, he's gone.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
And it's not. I don't think that's a huge criticism of Tony Parker necessarily, because I don't know a lot of people that can match the. Nobody can match the pace, but some people can manage it.
Yeah.
The Spurs didn't manage it, and even on the interior, where you would expect Tim Duncan to be rim protecting, he was slow as well. It wasn't so much. It was an upset, but it wasn't like the Thunder defeated the San Antonio Spurs so much as, the Spurs were definitely in 4 of those games.
Yeah.
And it just, maybe for the first time their stone cold discipline slid a little bit too much into complacency, where I guess they maybe expected, they've been here 100 times before, they know what's going to happen, maybe just slid into complacency just a little bit in this series.
I think, looking at that series as a whole, I think myself and yourself, we both had the Spurs winning it quite straightforwardly. Maybe in 5, maybe in 6.
Do you know, even when the Thunder went up 3-2, I was scrambling to try and put some money on it, because I thought, they're going to get great odds on the Spurs winning this series now, and I still was absolutely sure that they were going to do it in 7 games, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, but if you look at the regular season, the Thunder were 2-2 against the Spurs in the regular season.
Yeah.
And one of those losses was in overtime.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a hint at the Thunder can take the Spurs.
Yeah.
In the regular season, we all know the Spurs aren't always the best and trying their hardest in the regular season anyway.
Yeah.
But they did have the edge over them, I think, in the regular season as well as in the postseason obviously. But the key thing that I thought that really let the Spurs down, and especially that last game, was it the second last game? Might have been the second last game as well. There was a moment where the Spurs were up by 9 or 8. It was up by almost double digits, and they just kept letting the ball go, and it was silly shots, not silly shots, but shots that they wouldn't usually take.
Yeah.
Early in the shot clock, with not many people up there for getting an offensive rebound, people not setting their positions, and only maybe 1 or 2 passes. Now, that's not Spurs basketball. And I don't know about yourself, but myself as a coach, I'd have stopped it right there. And Pop had plenty of opportunities to call a time, and he didn't do it.
It's interesting you have a dig at Pop there as well, because when me and Gav did the run through this the first time, Gavin suggested perhaps that Billy Donovan might have outcoached Popovich in that series.
I think I would argue that. I have to agree, because there was a 3-minute stretch where Pop watched his team basically give up 12 points without any reply, and he didn't call a timeout until 9 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
9 seconds. It was. I was livid. I was almost like, maybe my TV's broke. Maybe he's got no timeouts left.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm seeing 3 bars there for 3 timeouts.
To kind of
not used any.
To kind of echo what Gavin said, he made the point about about how the Spurs offense tries to move the the defense around. They'll move the ball. They'll get the defense out of position, and then they'll attack them and take the path of least resistance, and how that causes absolute chaos for all the teams. I think he was quoting some kind of interview where someone in the Warriors, was it Kevin Durant, said, "What if we just don't move? What if we stand still? What if we just stay where we are and not get dragged out of position?" And that seems to be what they did. Again, maybe I find it really difficult to accept that Billy Donovan, who I've been criticising all season for his inability to run a set or have any kind of game plan in the last 5 minutes of a game, I've been criticising him all season for that. I find it really difficult to accept that he outcoached Popovich. But there's a way that they just seemed to not allow themselves to be dragged out of position in a lot of those games, which nullified their offense.
I think that was in response to that first game. That first game of that series, I think that Billy Donovan told his guys, we need to be picking these guys up. We can't let them take open shots. We need to pick every guy up. And it didn't work for him. He changed it. He changed something. He changed something drastically, because every other game after that was not just close, it was scary how much of a change it was from the very, very first one.
Yeah.
And all season long, I've been talking about how the Thunder do not cope well on switches. If you're a good
See, well, that doesn't bode well for them in this series.
It does not. It does not. But there's other aspects of this series that help the Thunder in that. Whereas against other teams, like smaller teams that rely on the kind of movement of the ball rather than the fast pace, it's not. This is the kind of key thing that I'm trying to stress out here. It's not the pace that is going to be the problem for the Thunder. It's the movement, the ball movement. And I know that the Warriors are a great ball movement team, but their pace, that's what makes them look, unbelievably good as a ball movement.
Well, it's the high IQ of their team as well. I'll run through my thoughts on that. So Steph Curry is now back from his injuries. Hasn't played in large stretches of the playoffs so far because of his knee sprain against the Rockets in the first round. So he's back now, and it looks like you could have maybe debated last week: is he going to be 80% or 70% or 90%? Where is he going to be? I don't think there's any concerns. I think Steph Curry's fine. I don't think the Warriors have that excuse.
No, he's fine. He's back.
Yeah, he's fine.
He was dancing. That's all I say. He was dancing. He's dancing. He's fine.
But even when it happened, everyone immediately crowned the Spurs the Western Conference champions, which I wasn't buying either. Because I'm thinking it's a sprained knee. If he's out 2 weeks, then that still puts him in a good position to be healthy for the Western Conference Finals. So I was never buying that he was not going to be capable. So he is fine. The first thing people say. So it's going to be. Let's look at the point guard matchup. Let's look at Russell Westbrook versus Steph Curry. Is there more a tenacious defensive point guard in the NBA than Russell Westbrook? No, there is not, and I completely agree. If it was 1-on-1, then Steph Curry might be in trouble, but it's not going to be 1-on-1. Steph Curry is not going to be directly defended by Russell Westbrook. He's going to be run into screens. He's going to be run into 3 screens per possession. Anytime, moving screens, whether they are or not, whether they're moving screens or not. Anytime Steph Curry takes a 3-pointer, I can guarantee you Russell Westbrook isn't going to be very close to him when he does. I'm sure you'll agree.
That's true. I'd like to come back to that point a little bit later on. I'm saving that for later.
You're saving it. You're saving it for your closing statement.
No. I'm just saving it when we go on to this guy.
Yeah. So that kind of puts that matchup to bed. If Curry had to deal with him directly in a game of 1-on-1, then yes, I completely agree. He's never faced a tougher challenge in terms of someone who's going to defend him than that. But I don't think it's not going to be necessarily an issue because of the clever way that they play offense. They would never allow Curry to be isolated against them.
No.
So that's one thing. The other thing, for the first time, perhaps in 2 years, maybe more, certainly in the past 2 years worth of playoff series for the Warriors, for the first time they're going to be in a position where 2 of the best 3 players on the floor are in the other team. I think it's the first time that's happened in 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be possibly the biggest challenge yet. I mean, we spoke. It was talked about last summer about how easy a path they had to the championship. Everyone was injured that they had to play against.
Their magical carpet ride from basically the Grizzlies, low dwellings to everyone else being injured.
Yeah, that happened last season. They got, it was well documented and well spoken about in the summer, and the Warriors came out with the biggest chip on their shoulder you've ever seen and became historically the best regular season team in the history of basketball. That happened. I think the Warriors know that this is the toughest challenge that they've had to face in that whole time. For the first time, two of the best 3 players on the court are going to be on the other team. I think the Thunder know that as well. It gives them a bit of swagger. It gives them a bit of confidence. But I expect to see that chip on the Warriors' shoulder come out even bigger than it's ever been, because this is the moment they have to prove themselves. Because regular season record, it don't mean a thing without the ring. Now Russell Westbrook, I feel, will take that upon himself more than he will allow that challenge to be shared between him and Kevin Durant. And given that the fact that's again, like I said with Kyrie Irving, the Warriors can trick Westbrook into trying to take over this series. I think he's definitely vulnerable to that, because as good as he is, as talented he is, as high paced, as high octane as he is, and as clever as he's starting to become, I think he's still vulnerable to his own, getting caught up in the moment sometimes. Now, Kevin Durant is the other player on that team. In any other year, maybe this would have been Steph Curry versus Durant. And if you read, maybe you read the Ringer article that came out today about it. The reason why that would have been, the storyline is because Kevin Durant basically is Steph Curry, but a 7-foot version of him.
Yeah.
Now, the Warriors are able to throw so many different defences at Kevin Durant in order to change up the looks that he's going to get. I said this to Gavin as well. There's a chapter of a sports science book about Shane Battier and playing defense in basketball, and it's called Stranded on Kobe Island with Shane Battier, and it basically just talks about you're never going to stop a scorer like that. You're never going to stop him, but you might slow him down. And the key to doing that is to throw a variety of different types of look at him, so that he has to constantly reassess what he's doing, change how he's playing offense, guess what you're about to do, counteract it. So it's always going to be a bit of a chess game, and in doing that, you can slow a great offensive player down a little bit. Now, in lieu of having one defender that can do that to Kevin Durant, they've got Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Harrison Barnes, and sometimes Draymond Green will be switching onto the screens and defending Kevin Durant as well. That's a lot of different types of defender, a lot of different types of looks that you're going to have to get him. So whereas Kevin Durant had the opportunity last season to figure out how Kawhi was defending him and counteract that, he's going to have to constantly go through that process every single time a different player switches onto him, which makes it really, really difficult, I think. And the combination of that and the fact that I think the Warriors can trick Russell Westbrook into taking this series over, there's a potential there where Kevin Durant can be marginalised in this series, if not by the Warriors' defence, then by Russell Westbrook himself. What do you think of that?
I totally support that, and I've watched the 3 games that they played each other this year, and I thought they were all close-ish games. There was long stretches where one team just bombarded the other team. And looking at some of the numbers, you've got Kevin Durant scored 40 on the Warriors first game, 37, and then 32.
So he's had a high productivity against the Warriors.
Yes, he's had higher productivity than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Which isn't that surprising when you see where a lot of Russell Westbrook's shots have been coming from. And I think you kind of know where I'm kind of headed with this.
Yeah.
What do we not want to see from Russell Westbrook?
I don't want to see him running downhill.
Well, if you were Billy Donovan, what do you not want to see from Russell Westbrook?
I don't want him shooting threes.
Don't shoot a three. Someone needs to tell him, don't shoot threes. Don't shoot threes. Just don't shoot threes.
Yeah, I think
don't shoot threes.
I think Bill Simmons called him like the worst 3-point shooter. In terms of how many attempts he makes, he's like the worst 3-point shooter since Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade. However, what he did caveat that with was he seems to make them in key moments, like Dwayne Wade does, and like Kobe Bryant does, which kind of skews how you kind of think about him as a 3-point shooter. But I agree, statistically, he is a terrible 3-point shooter.
Do you want to have a guess what his 3-point percentage is against the Warriors?
Is it 20%?
No.
Is it less than that?
Yes.
It's less. Oh my goodness.
It's less. It's closer to 16%.
Oh wow.
So yeah, just don't shoot threes. Don't shoot threes.
But that's what I mean. I think there's a scenario where you can coax him into doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's if you rewatch the game where they went to overtime against the Warriors. What was the last couple of runs through the offense? He had 2 open 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Did he hit a 3-pointer in that game? No. No, he didn't. He didn't hit one. So it's not good. It's not good reading when you see that as an offensive stat.
Yeah.
But it's something to kind of think of. This is something that he's slowly but surely. I think he's getting out of the habit of doing this. I don't know if he's getting out of the habit of doing this or Kevin Durant saying, "I need you to stop shooting threes."
Yeah.
Because as the season's kind of progressed, they've got better. They've got better at eliminating that kind of fourth quarter. I don't know what we want to call this.
Meltdown.
Collapse. submersion,
Yeah.
going back in their shell.
They've certainly not done it in the playoffs so far, but I feel like the psychological game that the Warriors could play would be to say something in the press like, this is Russell Westbrook's biggest series of his career. You know, start really talking it up like that. So you're sowing a seed in his head where he's going to want to come out and try and take this series over. And I think between that and, you know, the multitude of different ways that you can throw at Kevin Durant to at least make him think and slow him down a little bit, that's a concern for me. And I say that having no skin in this game. I wouldn't say I was a fan of any basketball team. You know, I mean, I'm a fan of all of them, but I'm not. You know, I'm a Warrior. I'm a fan of the Warriors, but I'm not a Warriors fan. I'm a fan of the Thunder, but I'm not a Thunder fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All I would say is my two favourite basketballers in basketball are Russell Westbrook and Steph Curry. So I've got no skin in this game. I don't have an agenda here. I just honestly think that the advantage goes to the Warriors in the Curry-Westbrook matchup, and in the way that they can defend Durant and kind of coax Russell Westbrook into being the alpha dog in this series. And the last thing where I think that the last area where the Warriors take advantage, when the Warriors put that lineup of death out with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Harrison Barnes and Draymond Green, they're going to cause huge problems for the Thunder, because their best lineup features Steven Adams and Enes Kanter on the floor at the same time.
Yeah.
And you have to make a decision if they're going to play that lineup of death at you. You have to take Kanter out, or you have to take Adams out. And I think you probably want to take Kanter out because Steven Adams has that rebounding advantage that he'll definitely be able to utilise over Draymond Green.
Yeah. I just like to jump on this just as you mentioned him first, not me.
Yeah.
Steven Adams is one of the most interesting players to watch this year. His progression this year is great.
He is.
You know, he's became this
Terminator
prototype that a lot of teams will be looking for this summer. A player who can be aggressive. He doesn't get riled up.
I think
he has sneaky shots as well against other opposing teams.
Yeah, I think
great to see.
I genuinely think you could hit him in the face with a golf club, and they would just look at you as if they, like, what the fuck did you just do that for?
yeah, totally. He has no emotion. I think you've been watching a lot of early Tim Duncan.
Yeah, but like he's so tough.
You said something. I didn't hear that. I didn't feel that. I don't care. I mean, in the Spurs series, he literally just came alive.
See the bit with the
pretty much a double that whole series.
Seeing at the end of game 2 with the fan grabbed his arm and kind of tried to hold him out of bounds.
I thought he was actually going to pick the fan up and bring it out of the court and be like, ref, holding the fan.
It just gave him this this terrifying stare down. Like, man, I would have shat in that front row if it was me.
But that's what you pay your grand and a half for, to go and touch a really, really hairy, sweaty New Zealand. He's New Zealand?
Yeah, he's Kiwi.
He's
Kiwi. Yep.
He's Kiwi, isn't he?
Yeah.
New Zealander. It's just ridiculous.
But he's got a toughness and he's got an attitude, and he's tagged as a dirty player as well. So I think you want to keep him on the floor against that lineup of death, and you want to take Kanter out, and you're going to probably put Serge Ibaka in there to kind of try and shore up your defense just a little bit. I mean, he can at least switch on to some of the faster players in that lineup. However, I think if you've got Serge Ibaka out there, then he's going to want to take shots. And I think you have to give him some shots as well. The problem is those shots are going to be long range twos, which we know statistically are the worst kind of shot that you can take in basketball. Also, the more he makes them, the more he takes them, and it just, he's not a great offensive player. Having him out there on the court, you're going to have to give him those shots, which means shots that Westbrook and Durant aren't taking to start with. And also, if you don't give him those shots, then he's not going to rebound as hard. He's not going to play defense as hard.
I think we've seen a lot of that this year from Ibaka, where he's just as his role in the offense has decreased, he's kind of switched off a little bit on the defensive side. I still think he's a great defender. I just think every now and again you can see it in his eyes where he's just like, I'm not even touching the ball. This set up the floor.
I think
I care.
Yeah. it's not even hard to kind of empathise with that either. You know what I mean? You know, apart from the fact that he's from the Congo and he's basically living the dream. He's living the American dream.
And I don't. If he ever does leave the Thunder, I don't see him getting as big a role in any other team.
Well, I think I'm going to say the opposite. I think if Westbrook and Durant are going to stay together on that Thunder team, then Serge Ibaka has to go because he's eating up too much of the money for the role that he's got at the moment. And I think he needs a change of scenery to try and kind of get back on top of himself. Do you know? He needs a role in a different team.
Yeah, I don't see him as he was as a member of the Thunder. Like if you look back, not so much this year, but the last couple of years, he's been like that third piece that they had, and he's not consistently been there. Especially not this season. He's been usurped by Steven Adams basically.
Yeah.
You know, he's the guy that you want to see on the floor more than Ibaka. And Cantor, great offensive rebounder. Why can't he do it on the defensive side?
He's just not a good defender. He's not a good defender at all. They're gonna try and that's why against that lineup of death he can't be on the court. So you're going to sacrifice his offensive output to bring on someone like Ibaka who can potentially kind of throw your team off the rails a little bit. It just throwing that lineup of death out there, and it's the strongest lineup that the Warriors have. They've mastered that lineup. They've mastered that 3-point barrage that the Cavs are just kind of stumbling onto just now.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go for the really cheesy pun there and say he can't be on the floor.
Oh, he can't. Well, he can't.
You missed that.
He definitely can't.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
you get that lineup gives them problems, and I think that's the third reason why the Warriors will take advantage, because there's just no way that they can stop that. Now, in the last series, part of the success they had against the Spurs was that Steven Adams, Andre Robertson, Dion Waiters, they all started to really click together. They started firing all cylinders, and they all put in really, really good performances. I think relying on that happening again is dubious, especially against a team who's going to be able to match the pace a bit better than the Spurs did.
Well, there's one key person there that you've mentioned, Dion Waiters. Dion. He's your guy, really, that you want to give the last inbounds play in a game for, and I thought it was just a mistake. But I've rewatched some Thunder games, and that's the player who they pick.
I know. I've seen it spoken about as well. Actually, I've seen it criticised.
That's some crazy stuff.
I mean,
that's my God.
I think you're gambling. You're playing with fire if you're going to rely on all of those guys clicking together at the same time as Westbrook and Durant. I don't think that'll happen again. In my honest opinion, and again, I'm not hating on the Thunder, because I really, really like to watch the Thunder. The Steph Curry and Westbrook are the two most exciting players in basketball just now for me. I don't see them coming out of this series.
I think I give them a puncher's chance of going through here if they can predominantly run the Warriors basically into the ground.
But it hasn't been done this season.
No, it's not. But it's you're looking at teams that they've come up against who are not the Thunder, who don't play that kind of same style. You've not. I mean, the Warriors don't come up against guys who are like Russell Westbrook every single day in and day out. They come up against guys who are like your Chris Pauls, who are like your Tony Parkers, who are like your Mike Conleys, point guards and shooting guards who are, they don't just charge at the basket.
Yeah.
And
well, the Warriors' interior defense is definitely vulnerable to elite point guards who are going to penetrate and try and get in there. But that's just another reason why I think Russell Westbrook knows that he's going to want to do it. And I think that just works better for the Warriors than it does for the Thunder when he tries to take over a game like that.
The one thing I would say as a kind of side note to that kind of style of play from the Thunder is it usually lands them in foul trouble quite early on, and that's mainly how they lost their game too. Not just the fact that Russell Westbrook was shooting the occasional three in the fourth quarter when time was running down. They got Durant fouled out in overtime.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is it's rare occurrence for Durant to foul out, but you've got in a lot of the games Russell on 5 fouls, 4 fouls, Durant on 4 fouls, and it's not a good look. You don't want to be having your star guys rack up that many fouls.
Yeah.
In key moments, and that's the scary side for the Thunder. But I do give them a chance. I think I give them a better chance than I would have if we would have done this at the very, very start of the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
If we'd have hypothesized that the Thunder would have
been the team in the finals.
Yeah,
I would never have agreed with that. I would have called you insane. I would have told you to fuck off.
You've been asking me for that drink back and just be on my way, but it's even if I'd have thought in my mind that the Spurs would have suddenly got injured or something like that, and we'd have hypothesized that it'd be Thunder against Warriors, and not even if it was the finals, if the Thunder would have fallen a little bit further in the pecking order and been matched up against the Warriors, I give them a better chance in the finals than I do then.
In the first round, yeah.
They've powered through, their biggest adversary in the Spurs.
Yeah.
Because it's been them that's kind of been niggling away at them all season. They knew what they were going to be coming against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Whereas they never seem to have a game plan against the Spurs.
Yeah. But it was more about stopping the Spurs, really, stopping their offense and then going from there. But I don't think that works against the Warriors. First of all, because you just can't stop them. This is why I just can't. I can't see it happening. They haven't stopped. Nobody stopped Curry. They can't stop Curry. They can't stop the Warriors' lineup of death. I don't see how they can run, a great offense against the Warriors because of how I've pointed out how they're going to try and split up Westbrook and Durant, and how it's conceivable that a team can do that.
Yeah.
If this is a really, really big if they can match or exceed the way that they played against the Spurs, if Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant can both have transcendent series, if everybody on the floor is playing to their absolute maximum, Warriors and Thunder, all the role players are pulling through for them, and everyone's absolutely eating this game up. All things being equal, all of them at the top of their game, the Warriors will still win because they're shooting threes.
Yeah. Saying that, the Warriors haven't shot that well from three against the Spurs, though.
The Thunder.
Oh, against the Thunder. Sorry, they've not shot that well against the Thunder.
Yeah.
You've got.
Apart from that one that Steph Curry shot, the long range bomb, and he'll make that.
Yeah. Well, that overtime game where he was 12 for 16, but in the other games you've got 1 for 9 and 5 for 15. They're quite off nights for Steph. And even Clay was 1 for 6, 2 for 9, and 1 for 7.
Yeah.
And Draymond was non-existent.
Yeah.
Apart from 14 assists in that overtime game.
Yeah.
So they've got something that they can chip away at this really, really good Warriors team with. It's just how do they put that all together and stop Steph?
Well, the other thing as well is the Thunder are averaging 18 turnovers per game against the Warriors in those 3 games in the regular season. You can't do that. You can't do that in the playoffs and win.
No, but they've shown that they're not doing that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's one thing that they've not been doing. They've not been turning the ball over. They've not been causing the odd occasional silly foul. You've not been, almost getting chucked out of games, Russell Westbrook. It's they've shown that little bit of restraint there, which is I think it's encouraging to watch, and it might produce a better series. I know we all think it's going to be an amazing series, but I think it's
so.
Going to be a little bit closer than a lot of us are thinking.
I think that there's so much potential. It could be an amazing series. It could go 7 games. It could also be a sweep, though.
Yeah.
It could be. There's potential. So again, we're running out of time a little bit. So if you don't have a kind of closing statement to make, we can go into predictions and try and predict both of these series. So I'm going to say I'm going to say this Western Conference Finals will be Warriors in, I'll say 6, but I think it could be 5.
I'm going to say Warriors in 7.
Warriors in 7? You think it's going to go this?
I think it's going to go distance.
That could happen because I'm pretty sure the referees are going to make sure that it does.
Yeah. maybe they'll try and make up for all the missed wooden screens this season.
Yeah. Or maybe there'll be a game where that starts to get called. That could happen.
There was a game in the who was it? It was a Portland game. No, it was a Houston game. It was a Houston Rockets game against the Warriors in the first round. That suddenly they were getting about 3 or 4 moving screens called against them, and it was like, has someone told them what a moving screen is now? Is that a thing? Is that a thing they're calling now? So. Yeah.
It could be a game where they start to call it. For the Cavs Raptors, I'm going to say Cavs in 6 as well.
I'm going to say Cavs in 5.
Cavs in 5.
Cavs in 5. And that's I'm being generous because it's Drake. Being a little generous there.
All right.
If he shows up to one, see if he shows up to them, they'll get a game. If it doesn't show up again, they're not getting a game.
Well, I guess we'll see. Alright, well thanks very much for taking the time to come on and talk about this.
Thanks very much for having me.
No problem. We'll catch up again soon, okay? Because there's a lot of basketball still to go, alright?
That is true.
You take care, right? And you enjoy school as well.
See you later, man.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.